Welcome, everyone, to the first Design Tapas. And today we're going to cover the very basics of 3D modeling. Me and William, we're going to just do it. All right. So what is Blender? Blender is um, actually one of the latest 3D modeling softwares. I think it started at from 1990 something and until recently. It's a relatively new software because other 3D modeling softwares such as Maya have been in the industry for a long time ago. But why people love Blender? It's pretty easy to use compared to other 3D modeling softwares. And a lot of indie game developers actually prefer Blender um, than other softwares because they don't have a lot of money to pay for a lot of subscription fees, and Blender is free. So that's like one of the most beneficial thing about Blender. And let's just jump right into Blender. So open up, everyone. Give me something when you open up. All right, maybe like a thumbs up. All right, awesome. So let's first talk about the basic navigation here. So as you open up, you're gonna have like, okay, sorry, maybe I open this again. So you're probably gonna see this interface. And right now, let's click on general. And you can see like a square or a cube in the center. That means you're in the right place. And let's go through the basic navigation. So if you're on trackpad, like me on a Mac, it's pretty straightforward. So if you drag two fingers on your trackpad, it's gonna rotate your view. When you're zooming, you basically hold on the command button and you drag your two fingers on your trackpad to zoom in and zoom out. And when you're panning the view, you hold down shift and drag two fingers across the trackpad. So that's like the navigation for your trackpad. But if you're using mouse, you can do another set of actions. I'm just gonna leave it there, and I'm gonna give you guys like a minute to get familiar with this whole thing because it's really important. Also, feel free to cut me off if you have any questions, anything is confusing. Yeah, cool. And the second thing we want to do is to move or transform the objects. As you guys can see, there's this cube that is like the default object that every time you start up Blender. And we're gonna learn how to move them, how to rotate, and how to scale. So if you press G on your keyboard, and as you move your mouse over, you're gonna see like the cube is moving around, right? And if you left mouse click once, it's gonna move to that position. And right now you're probably wondering like, okay, how do I get a more fine control over this object? So let's get into moving the object along an axis. So you click G again, and you click X. You can see the X axis is highlighted, right? And you drag around your mouse, you're gonna see that the cube is moving along the X. Same as moving along the Y and Z axis, you just click GY and GZ, and you can see like the different axes are highlighted, and you can move the shape around. So it's confined in a single axis. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave you guys for 10 seconds. Get familiar. Oh, I'm gonna also share the slide on the chat so that you guys can have the reference.
We did.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's also talk about another movement, which is kind of the opposite of confining on one axis, is confining except that axis. So if we hold on G, if we click G and we click Shift X, it's going to move the object except the x-axis. So you basically confine the object on the YZ plane. Same as G Shift Y, you confine the object on the XZ plane. So you have the basic idea of moving an object. The same as rotate, click R. Right now the object is just rotate like crazy. So you can also confine it which axis you want to rotate it around. So if you click X, it's going to rotate around X. Same as scale. If you just hit scale, S, and drag your mouse, it's going to scale along all the axes. So it's just scaling the whole thing. If you want to scale constraint to X, you can just do SX. It's going to, do its thing. Is there any questions by far? No? Okay. Good. Yeah, let's get into the UI. So a very general basic view of the whole Blender interface. We are working primarily as beginners on the layout tab. So this whole thing is called a 3D viewer. And you can see, you can like change to different views. Say, you can go to render tab. My computer just freezes for a while. And you can go to wireframe mode, and the basic one is the solid mode. So when you're modeling stuff, you don't want to see like the different materials and different colors applied to it. You go to the solid view. So this is the 3D viewer. You can get access to all the tools. And on the top right, it's called the outliner. So as if you are working on a game engine or another like 3D software before, or even Photoshop, you're going to see like all the layers and stuff. And a similar idea, this is going to list all the objects in the scene. And on the bottom right, these are the properties panel. So you can basically change the object's properties on all of these panels. So as you can see here, we have the object properties. You can see the location, rotation, scale, and you can also change the materials here, which William's going to cover later. All right. So the next thing, we're going to create our first objects in Blender. So before it, we're going to delete this object. So let's hit X and click the delete to delete the object. And if we hit Shift plus A, we can trigger this menu, and you can basically select everything that is in the menu that's going to add it to the scene. Right now, let's add another cube. All right. And as we kind of go through the basics, we're going to create the shelves of the vending machine. All right, so let's do that. So first of all, I would like to scale the whole cube to make it look like a shelf or a box of the vending machine. So let's recall the previous steps. We can scale it, right? But right now we want to scale it along the X to make it a little bit wider, and scale along the Z to make it a little bit taller, like that. Maybe also Y. All right. And notice that this is not like always a good idea, because we don't have individual access to specific components, right, of the shape. If we want to edit maybe a single vertex or like a single edge or face, how can we do that? We can enter the edit mode. So we're all gonna hit tab on your computer. And right now you can see like the tool shelf on the left changes, and a lot of different components are highlighted, right? So we enter the edit mode. And on the top left corner, there are 3 different icons. The first one is the vertex selection mode. So in this mode, you can select individual vertices, and you can like do transformations on those ones, maybe move them, rotate them, scale them. You don't want to do that right now. And the second one is the edge selection. You can also do a bunch of different transformations on the single edge. What we want to select is face selection. And we basically want this whole thing to sit on the XY plane, right? So we're going to select the bottom plane and move it along the Z axis to basically get it on near the 0 plane. So select it, face selection, and GZ to move it upward. Just a little bit up. Doesn't have to be really precise. Also GZ to move up the whole thing, the top face. So now this is like the front face.
To do the face selection again.
Yes. So you hit tab, enter the edit mode, and you go to the third icon of the top left. And that's face selection.
Sorry, can you do one more time, please?
Yes. So before you have this one, right? You select the object and you go tab, enter the edit mode, and you select the third icon of the top left.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And you can select the different faces if you want. Ooh. All right, so it's probably time to talk about extrude and inset, because if you're actually doing a lot of 3D modeling stuff, you're going to get into a lot of these operations. So, but before that, we have to do another operation. Let's hit tab to get out of the edit mode, go back to the object mode, and let's hit Command or Control A. It says apply. Let's actually apply the scale. So this tab will allow you to apply the scale of the object so that it scales back to 111. Sorry, it's a little bit confusing. We don't have to get into them right now. Just remember to do this step.
Wait, could you repeat that real quick? The thing about location.
Yes, so Command A. And hit scale.
Okay, thanks.
And let's hit tab to get into edit mode again and hit I on the keyboard. First of all, select the front face, hit I and slightly drag the mouse to make an inset. And if you hit away, you can actually see you just created an inset face from the outer face. And we want to push this face backwards. So let's actually extrude it. Let's hit E and push it inwards in order to extrude it. You can actually extrude it inwards or outwards as you like. Yeah, is everyone good to follow?
Hi, I missed what the command was for moving the inset and how to make the inset.
Okay, let me do it again. So you're at this step and you select the front face, hit I on the keyboard, drag your mouse a little bit inwards. And this step, you create an inset face. And with this face selected, you hit E on your keyboard and move the mouse inward.
The question in the chat, what does Shift A scale do again?
Shift A scale.
Like what you did before when you did Shift A and you got the context menu and you click scale?
Oh, I mean, Shift A is to create a new object, and you just select that object and you hit S to scale it.
William said that it resets to proportions, so it makes the inset faces work properly.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's actually Command A.
Oh,
Apply scale. That's Command A. Yeah. Yes, inset and extrude are separate. Thank you, Willem. Okay. Why don't you all give me a thumbs up if you are able to follow along? I see 4 thumbs up. Okay, okay, actually a lot. Thank you, thank you. Cool. Let's move on. So now we're gonna get into loop cuts. Loop cut is a really perfect tool for creating new geometry. And by new geometry, I mean new vertices, edges, and faces. Because right now we want the shelves to come out from this face, right? So let's all, without anything selected, let's hit Command or Control R. And you're probably gonna see this red outline, sorry, yellow outline. And if you hit upper arrow on your keyboard or you drag your mouse or your scroll wheel, it's gonna increase the loop cuts. So in order to, you know, do the extrusion, we want more loop cuts, right? And you're gonna click left mouse button 2 times in order to confirm this loop cut. So now you got 2 loop cuts around the whole shape. when I first learned it, it's a little bit confusing to me. So definitely hit me up if you are confused.
Yeah, could you go one more time, maybe, please?
Yeah, for sure. So without anything selected, hit Command R. You got the yellow outline, and you either move out your finger on the trackpad or you scroll your mouse wheel, and you're gonna get more loop cuts, right? We want 2 loop cuts, and you're gonna left mouse click 2 times without moving it. You're gonna get the loop cut exactly at the position.
Sorry, I'm not getting the multiple like cuts. Like you said scrolling, it's kind of not doing that. Okay.
Are you using a trackpad or are you using a mouse?
Yeah, I'm on a trackpad.
Yeah, so just 2 finger scroll up to make more loop cuts.
Okay.
Yes. Control Command Z is usually working. I'm not sure if you already applied that operation, because after you apply that operation, it's possible to use Command Control Z to go back. Okay, so in order to make shelves, we need 2 more loop cuts. One under this loop cut and one under this loop cut, right? So we're gonna have 2 loop cuts again, but this time we apply it individually. So this time we actually click once and we drag it down to appropriate position, and we click on that again to make that loop cut. The same as this one, click it once, drag it down, and click. Right, looks like Jennifer's done. Yeah, sure, let's go. Next step. So we're gonna extrude the face, right? We're gonna hit keyboard 1, 2, 3. It's gonna be like the shortcut for vertex, edge, and face selection. So if we hit 3 on your keyboard and select the face, and we hit E to extrude it. So we wanna extrude it to a point where it looks like a shelf. The same thing as the bottom one. So we made ourselves a bookshelf or like a vending machine shelf. Let's give us a round of applause. Hey, all right. Yeah, so I think we're pretty good on time, and we're gonna let William take the mic and talk about more advanced stuff. All right, awesome. William?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. All right,
Yeah.
share screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen? All right. Okay, so once you have the bookshelf or the machine with the shelves, now it's time to put some things onto these shelves. So today we're going to be making simple bottles. All right, so let's start by first going to the top right and just pressing the eye icon so it's invisible, because we're going to use this space for something else. All right, now everyone's done that, we're going to Shift A, and that's a shortcut to create an object. And we're going to add a cylinder because that's the shape that's most similar to a bottle. And now if you go in here and go into edit mode, you can see that there are vertices. What we're going to do is move these vertices so that they build up the bottle how we want it to be. Okay, I'll slow down. So essentially, I'll just go back a little bit. So back in the object mode, we're gonna Shift A, and that creates an object. We're gonna create a cylinder.
Oh, there was a chat that just asked if you could slow down a little bit.
Yeah,
Ko is asking, how do you remove the previous object?
I didn't actually delete it. I just made it invisible. I went to the top right, and there's an eye icon under the cube. And you just click the eye icon, and it disappears.
I think when I like made the bookshelf disappear, my cylinder is also not showing up.
You might have clicked the eye icon under collection instead of cube.
Okay, thanks. I'll check it.
All right. How do I make the cylinder? Shift A. Shift A is the way to make any object. And under mesh, you're going to find an option for cylinder. Okay. So once we have the cylinder, we're going to press tab to go into edit mode. And what you'll notice is that the cylinder is constructed from vertices. And if we can move these vertices to where we want it to be, it'll create the overall shape of the cylinder. Can't see the cylinder even though it's set to visible. Make sure your camera's on it. If you do Shift C, it will focus on the object.
Maybe Jessica, you check, maybe you make the cylinder before you exit out to the object mode.
Okay, yeah.
Cylinder still in the edit mode. If you hide the whole thing, it's gonna also hide your cylinder.
Yeah, that's right. So when you create the cylinder, you want it to be separate from the shelf. So in order to do that, you're going to have to go into edit or to go into object mode first, and then do Shift A from object mode. And by doing so, you'll create a new object. Got it? All right. Okay, so right now we have two objects, the shelf, which we've hidden, and the cylinder. So we want to make this a bottle. Let's go into edit mode, and first let's scale this up a little bit so it's a little bit taller. And then next we're going to create loop cuts. And remember that the shortcut for loop cuts is Control R. So hover your mouse over the middle, Control R, and scroll to set the number of cuts. I think 2 would be a good number here. Let's move this upwards a little bit. You know that like the top of a bottle is small, so we're going to select these vertices and move them closer together. The way we do that is to first select these vertices. We can do that by pressing Alt and then clicking the edge, or Option and clicking the edge if you're on Mac. And once you have these selected, we're going to press S to scale and move your mouse inwards, and that makes the top smaller. All right, I'll go over this again. Select the vertices by Alt clicking or Option clicking, and then press S and move your mouse to scale it down. Okay, once you've done that, we're going to move on to, okay, I'll repeat it one more time. We're going to Alt click, and that selects the loop or the circle, and then press S, which stands for scale. And once we do that, we can scale it down, and then left click to confirm.
Alt click isn't working.
Make sure you click on the, or you might be in face mode. At the top left, make sure at vertically select, vertex mode, instead of face select.
Okay.
And then if you alt click on the edge of it, it should select the ring.
Okay. And then what do I do after that?
Press S to scale it down.
Also, I noticed that there's like 3 segments to like your cylinder. Does it matter like where the markings are? Or like how do I move them actually? Because I think
that's gonna be the next thing we go over. So
oh, got it.
Yeah. So we can click the other rings using the same way, alt click or option click, and using the grab tool, G, we can move it up or down. And in this case, even scale it a little bit. I'm going to make it like taper off a little bit. Then finally, we're going to take the last edge loop, move it up a tiny bit, something like that. So if you know how to make the top part smaller and move it around, then you should be able to move the other ones also. It's the same method. Will we be able to do physics simulation in Blender? Yes, but for today, this is only like 3D modeling. Physics simulations will be like something else. Okay. That's one of our objects. And I'm just going to hide it from view again and make it a different way if you want to try it this way. We're going to be making a few of these, but there's a shortcut that we will go over later. Okay, so back in object mode, when we're not selecting anything, we're going to Shift A to add a circle this time. If you go into edit mode, you'll see that this circle is also made of vertices. This time, we're going to use the extrude tool to move or to extrude these points upwards. So remember that the extrude shortcut is E. So we're going to press E and move it upwards. Press Z also to make it go. Okay. And we could do this multiple times. So maybe this time I won't extrude it that far. I'll just extrude it to around this height, make it smaller, extrude it again, make it slightly larger, extrude one more time, and maybe we could just close it off here. This is a weird shaped bottle, but it is what it is, I guess. I'll go over this one again. So you start by creating an object, in this case, a circle. Press Tab to go into edit mode. That way you can edit your vertices. Select your vertices and press E to extrude. And then just keep repeating that until you get the shape you want. How to extrude straight up. Remember that if you press X, Y, or Z, you can move objects along an axis. So when I'm doing this, I press E and then Z, and that moves it straight up along this axis. And similarly, if you do Y, it'll go along the Y axis and X for the X axis. All right, now that everyone has time to do this, we're gonna just, this is a small thing, but select the top ring. You can alt click and we're gonna press F and that fills the face so that there's not a hole inside. So before you can see through it, after you press F, it fills it and you can't see through it. Press F, yes. Like the same key you would press to pay respects, if that makes sense. Okay, let's move on. Should we do the bottom too? Yeah, you could do the bottom. You're not going to see the bottom, but you can do it anyways. I just did it right there. Okay, let's move this off to the side. So I'm going to press G to grab it and Y to move it along the Y-axis. Same thing with our cylinder, G and Y. And let's bring back our original machine. So the next thing we're going to do is place these items onto these shelves. And if you try grabbing it and moving it there, you'll notice that they're just a little too big. And what we can do to make them smaller is to just scale them. So we're going to press S to scale and scale it down until it's an appropriate size. Once they're a good size, you can use the G. You can use G to grab and move it to where you want. In this case, I'm going to press G and Z to move it straight up until it's just about sitting on the shelf. Then G and X to move it along the shelf. Same thing with this, G and Y to get it in line, G and X to move it up, and G and Z to move it up, and then G and X to slide it around. You can also play around with the scale of this once they're in here, and then move it if they somehow go through the shelf. All right, is everyone ready to move on? Okay, let's just go. To make like 20 bottles individually would take a lot of time. So what you can do is to Control C, Control V. We're gonna steal one from a copy paste. And once you copy and paste, you can use the grab tool to move it around. So in this case, I'm pressing G and then X, sliding around here. That's good. Let's copy and paste and GZ to move it up here. Slide it around a little bit. However you want.
Can you show how to make a copy again?
Yeah. So first you select the object and then Control C or Command V on Mac, and then Control V to paste it. And then once you paste it, you can press G and move it wherever you want.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. I accidentally drew an extra cylinder on my shelf layer. How do I get rid of it? As in, you have an extra one that you don't want, or? Okay, yeah. So select the object and press X And what X does, it deletes the object. So you just press delete after that and the object is gone.
Oh, I think she actually meant she drew an extra cylinder on her shelf layer. So she drew the cylinder together with the shelf. Did you mean that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a little bit more complicated, but I guess you can just leave it there for now.
Yeah. Like if it looks good, it's fine. Okay. I'll give you guys like 2 more minutes to work on this, or if everyone's done, we can move on. I accidentally hit something that enabled shadows. Maybe you might be talking about the view. At the top right, there's 4 options for the view. And if you click the second one for solid, is there any way, okay, is there any way to prevent it from not going through the shelf? It shouldn't matter, but just, you can zoom in, make sure it's aligned properly. If it's not, you can just drag it down a little bit. You can also tell if it goes through by this thing. When you're grabbing, there's like a white outline and the texture disappears.
If we still have time after the whole thing, we can talk about snapping. And that's how you snap one thing exactly on a surface.
Okay. All right, let's move on to materials. If you haven't saved your project, now would be a good time. And we're gonna go over to the shading tab. So the shading tab can be found at the top menu bar. It's between texture paint and animation. Once you click on shading, you're gonna get to this view. And this is the same 3D viewport. And at this bottom, the one thing that's new is that at the bottom, there's a place to create materials. So let's start by creating a material for, I guess, a bottle. So first click on the bottle and then click new. And this creates a new material. We can click on the material.001 and rename it. Let's call it bottle 1, just for simplicity. Wait, how do we get that bottom section? Instead of the layout tab, which is over here, we go over to shading in the menu. So at the very top, there's a shading tab. Yep. So when you create a new material, there's a lot of properties that you can change, but the one we're going to focus on today is base color. And if you click on this white rectangle over here, you get a color picker. So if we drag this around, you can see that the bottle changes color. We're just going to make this one red for now. You can make it whatever color you want. And we're going to do the same for all the other bottles. We can add a new material. Make this like green, for example. This one, make it blue. I'm just renaming the materials, but you don't have to. You can just leave it as material.00 whatever. And now you could probably see that if you have a ton of these objects that you want to apply to, say, the same color, so you want to make these two objects red, it would be a lot of pain to create a new material for each bottle, right? So what you can do is to click on the object, and then to the left of the next, there's a little drop-down menu. And over there, you can click on whatever material you want for that object. So if I click red over here, then this one also becomes red. And you could assign these to the same object. So I have something simple like this. You can use whatever colors you want. You can use all of them. You can have all of them be different. You could have all of them be the same. Doesn't matter. So maybe like 2 more minutes on this, and then we'll move on to adding a material for the vending machine and the shelf.
Do you mind like repeating what you did?
Yeah, sure. So let's go back to here. Okay, so first I selected an object and then clicked new to create a new material. And after that, there is an option for base color.
Where's new?
It should be under, do you see these two screens, like the main one with your objects?
Okay.
Yeah, the new should be right under, like in the middle of them.
Okay.
So once you click that, it'll create a new object. And then you can change the color using base color. Okay, let's move on to creating a material for everything else. So once again, click the object and click new to add a new material. And I'm just gonna call it box. Let's make this a gray box. Dark gray-ish. And well, let's say you want to change the color of the shelf, but it's all a single object. How are you going to do that? Well, if you click the object and then go down to the right side and click materials, material properties, it should be the second to last icon in these list of icons. You're going to get to this window. And that basically shows the same information as the bottom down here with your colors. But there's also one more thing that's important, and that's create a new material for the same object. And over here by the top right, there's a plus button. If we click that, it creates a new material. And once again, click new, and let's make this, let's make it orange. So now we want to have this orange apply to only the shelf. We can do that by selecting the object, going to edit mode. Remember, edit mode is when you press tab. So select the object, press tab, and go to face select, which is the third option at the top left of this window. And that allows you to select the faces. So I'm just going to shift click all the faces to select them. And once you have the faces selected, there's an assign button over at the right side. And if you click assign, it'll make those. If you click the orange material and then click assign, your shelves are now orange. And this can be any color you want. This could be blue, it could be cyan, it could be magenta-ish. And yeah, I'll repeat what I just did.
Oh, you're gonna repeat it, so it's cool. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. All right. Select the object. Tab to go into edit mode. Select the faces. And then select the new material that you want and click assign, which is on the right side. And once you do that, the shelves will have the new material, we'll call it shelf, and the box will have the original material.
Where's the new material and the assign button?
It's if you click, okay, so over at the right, you're probably going to see something else, but at the bottom, there's a red kind of sphere thingy.
Right.
If you click that, that will take you to the material properties.
Uh-huh.
And then over there, you're going to see your material at the top and then a plus button to the right of that.
Oh. So did I just assign it? Or do I
You
have...
create a new material that you want to assign the current one to.
Oh, okay.
So in this case, I created a new material that was orange. I called it shelf. And then I selected what things I wanted to be orange and then clicked assign. And this is a little bit more advanced, but it also works with the bottles you created. If you press tab, you can select like alternating faces, create a new material for that. Let's make it white and then assign. So that is something you can do if you want. Okay, we're running a little short on time, so I'll move on to the last topic. And that is how to produce a final image. So let's go back to the layout tab by clicking layout at the top left. And we're gonna add, or let's render it first and see how it looks. You can render by pressing F12. And if you press F12 and you see that there's no camera found, then you have to add a camera. You can do that with Shift A and camera. And using the same tools from before, like G for grab, we can move that camera to where we want it to be. I'm just using grab, rotate, and scale to move. Okay, repeat. Go back to layout, and then, yes, you're just gonna type it in chat. Once you have the camera, you can click at there's a camera icon at the top right of the 3D viewport. And if you click that, you'll see basically what your camera sees. Over here, toggle camera view. And once we're there, I'm just gonna render a quick image and see how it looks.
How do I edit the camera?
You just click it and then G to grab and move it wherever you want. And then if you press F12 after you have the camera pointing at your object, you'll see something like this. Well, it will pop up in a different window, but there's going to be a dark image over here. I don't see my camera up here. I can see camera 001. Make sure you're not creating the camera inside another object. Make sure you're in object mode first. Okay, cool. So you're gonna see this, and there's obviously like no light and no shadows, and it looks very bland. So one thing we can do to improve this image is to add a light. Once again, we're gonna Shift A to add, and let's create a point light first. How to move the camera out? Use G, and then you can move it. Similarly, we're going to move this light upwards. And it's up here. Let's see how it looks. It looks the same. So maybe we can try making the light a lot brighter. So over at the right side, under the properties, we're going to click on the light bulb. And if the light bulb isn't showing up, make sure you're clicking the light bulb first, and then click the tab that has the light bulb.
How do I add the light bulb?
Shift A. And then under lights, in this case, I added a point light. So Shift A, light, point. So after I have the light bulb, I'm going to turn the power up to like 400 watts. And wow, you can see there's an actual light now. We can move it downwards where we want it. Maybe shift it over a tiny bit. And now you can see that there's a shadow. Rotate the camera, minus pointing out a bit. Yeah. Is render F12 on Mac 2? I'm pretty sure it is. If not, you can go to the menu bar, click render, and then render image. Yeah, rotate the camera. It's probably going to be pointing straight down like that. And if you press R and X, you can just move it up. And you could also add more lights to make it look better. And rotate the camera on the local XYZ. Yes, it's a little bit more tricky, but I'll go over it really quick. Select the camera, press N to open up this tab. Click view and lock camera to view. And then once you do G and then XYZ while you're inside the camera, it'll move the camera to the local XYZ. I'm just going to copy and paste another light.
How do you get the object to be in layout? Like, how do you get it to be shaded and colored?
So what you're probably seeing right now is this. And then
Yeah.
if you go to the top right, there's 4 options for the view mode. This is the first. This is what we went over. This is the colors without lights. And finally, this is a final rendered mode.
And to answer Richard's question, there is a way to rotate on camera's local XYZ. If you look at the top bar, there's actually 4 tabs, and the first tab says global. You click on and change it to local.
Yeah. Okay, finally, if you all are satisfied with your image, you can, well, first of all, save the project. And then after that, we can, okay, wait, how to see camera view. That's important. Click on the right bar, there's a camera icon. If you click it, it'll go to this view. If you click it again, it'll exit the view over here. Yep. And then what you see in the camera is what you're going to be rendering. So press F12, you should get another window, which you can't see on my end because that's how Zoom's screen sharing works. But inside the new window that shows up, that's going to be your render. And then if you click image and save, you can save the image to where you want it.
So when I hit render, like the object is really small. Also
Move your camera closer, I guess.
I don't think it's very far. It doesn't look, and it's all. I also made it really big.
Okay, then
Not sure.
I would zoom in on in the new window that showed up. If you zoom in, it'll.
Yeah, it's like so small that it's like really blurry. It's like 1 centimeter.
How does your camera view look like?
What do you mean?
If you hit the camera icon on the right, be like a zoom in view, or it's also too small?
I mean, when I hit it, it just highlights the box. It doesn't like show me anything.
Oh,
I thought. Oh, okay.
have a
I thought
two.
you meant on the layer level. You mean on like the side?
Yeah, on the side there's like 4 icons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit the third one. So the
Yeah,
one.
so it's also really far.
Is your camera close to your object? Like if you click the camera view, does it fill up most of the screen?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Move your camera closer, I guess. So for example, if I move this one closer, then it'll show up.
Yeah,
closer.
mine is like even mine is like about this distance, but when I look at it, it's really far away.
You want to share a screen after?
Oh yeah, sure, definitely.
Yeah, we'll go over this after. Can you talk about how to make that color here? Yeah, at the top left, there's 4 view options. It's the last one.
Wow, you guys actually pulled through this.
Yeah, this stuff isn't easy.
This is, bro. This is like I don't know how many hours of introduction work that we crank it down into 1 hour. Probably.
Yeah, like GRS at the first time and creating like objects took me an hour alone, or something crazy like that.
3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, to actually make this complicated shape.
Yeah, to make this is like. Yeah, it takes quite a lot of time to get used to all the controls and stuff. So like if you're having trouble remembering any of the shortcuts, like don't worry about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Cannot see the shadow render. That might be because you don't have any lights. So the same way you make the camera and every other object, you would Shift A, add a light. Make the light bright. When you add it, it's like very not bright. To make it brighter, you would select the object over here. Go to the right panel under light. There's a light icon, and then turn the power up to like 400.
Blender has really weak light by default. So
yeah.
Every time you make a light, you have to crank it up a lot more.
And then final thing, if you want to save this as an image, press F12 to render your thing. In the new window that pops up in the menu bar, there's going to be an image section. If you click on that and click save or save as, you can save your image to where you want it to be. Where's the power again? Click on light panel at the right side, and then power. 400 watts, still cannot see the shadow. Are you in the 3rd viewing mode or the 4th viewing mode? You want to be in the 4th one. 4th. Okay, that's interesting. Maybe share screen after, and I'll take a look.
Light is too far away from your scene.
That might be an issue too. You want to move the lights closer to your object. Because if it's like 200 miles away, you're not going to see anything. On location. All right.
Bingo.
That's too bright, but working. Yeah, so you could just tune it from there or move the light a little bit further. It's up to you. But using these tools that we covered today, first creating basic shapes, creating slightly more complex shapes with the bottles, with vertex editing, assigning materials so that we can get colors for everything. You should be able to make a lot of the things you see. It's just about like getting used to the tools and knowing how to create things.
So if any of you have questions, we can share a screen and can look at it. Otherwise, thank you for coming.